Hey guys, my topic today is credit cards. Credit card debt is exploding as credit card debt has reached record highs and is reaching record highs as we speak. That is our topic for today, to have the conversation about credit cards. Now, I know I'm going to ruffle a few feathers. I know I'm going to ruffle a few feathers with this live today, but it's the elephant in the room, right? It's the elephant in the room. And I like to talk about the elephants in the room sometime when it comes to money and how we spend our money, how we use our money. So let's talk credit cards. So, guys, my goal on this channel is to always give you the good, the bad, the pros, the cons, the good stuff, the bad stuff, and let you see money from various sides and give you different perceptions and ways of looking at things. Right? My job is not to tell you what to think, but just to get you to think for yourself. Right now, I don't want you to just follow me and listen and do everything I say, but I want you to take in the information, go make up your own mind. You don't have to always agree with me. Matter of fact, it's more healthy for you if you sometimes disagree with me and we still be cool, right? So I want you to be the person that thinks for themselves. So I know that we all come to the table today with a perception about credit cards, right? But in this video, I'm going to try to knock out a few things. I'm going to talk about a few stats. I'm going to talk about my own credit card story. I'm going to we'll probably hit on debit card versus credit card, I'm sure. We'll talk about why credit cards could be bad, dangerous, the cons. I want to talk really briefly about how credit card companies make money. But we also, at the end of this, guys, we want to talk about if you plan to use or you use credit cards, what's some good things you need to be doing with credit cards, right? Because the credit card debt story came out a couple days ago, day or so ago. Credit card debt is exploding through the roof, right? So we want to see how we can, why is this and how we can be better with them. Hey, Angie's in the house, validated, Kimmy, Art of War. Good to have you guys here. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Hit that like button on the way in. Now, I put a poll out. Let me see if I can see the results of the poll. I put a poll out on YouTube today. Really, I just put it out kind of towards midday. I think towards the afternoon or so. I don't know. It was probably about 10 or 11 o'clock this morning, my time. I put a poll out on YouTube, and the poll said, question, do you use credit cards? Real simple question, right? I wanted to get a gauge from a good 400 or 500 people on whether or not you use credit cards. I had close to 500 people that responded to the poll in the last several hours. 51% said yes, absolutely. I use credit cards daily for most or all of my expenses. 51%. 15%, only 15% said no, I don't use credit cards. 31% said yes, just for emergencies or special occasions. So more than 66% of the people said, I use credit cards. Either I use them daily or I use them only for emergency, but I have credit cards and I use credit cards. 60%. Actually, what I say, 66%. So that's pretty interesting because that almost falls in line with all of the studies I've read about the usage of credit cards. Only 15% of people said, no, I don't use them. And I refuse to use them. Only 15%. That leaves 80 to 85% of the people that said, you know what, I use them or I use them sparingly, hardly at all. Pretty interesting. Let's jump right into it, guys. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for showing up and being in the house today. Absolutely am appreciative of you guys. So let's talk about some statistics. Let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about statistics and kind of maybe the statistics will tell us why the credit card debt is exploding. And these statistics are as of 2023, 2024, they're right in that range, right? But there's some of them are pretty alarming, frankly, right? Let me do this real quick. Let me share my screen with you guys real quick. Let me see if I can't share this screen with you real quick. I just want to go over something real quick and show you guys what we are talking about today. There was a story came out in CNBC about this a day or two ago. I hope I'm sharing my screen. Yep. So it said average consumer now carries $6,329 in credit card. People are stretched, experts say. Collectively, Americans now owe $1.14 trillion on their credit cards. That's according to the Federal Reserve. 1.14 trillion. And if you didn't know, I think a trillion has like how many zeros? 12 zeros or something? That's an amazing amount of money. The average credit card balance is $6,300, and it goes on to talk about Americans now owe more than 1.14 trillion, the average balance. And it shows you this tree or this graph, I'm sorry, from quarter one of 2018 to quarter two of 2024. It says credit card debt hits fresh high. And there it is at a fresh high today. That's where we are with credit card debt. Just goes up and up and up and up and up. Credit card delinquency rates, which we'll hit on later, are also higher across the board. Over the last year, roughly 9.1% of credit card balances transitioned into delinquency, right? Time to reassess and revenge spending. Credit card balances briefly fell back in 2020 and 2021. So it's in the news right now. And I thought I wanted to bring it to the forefront because credit cards is something that, frankly, guys, we just don't talk about a whole lot. I mean, we use them and they've slowly kind of become more and more prevalent in the lives of everybody. And I think it warrants us to take a fresh look at credit cards because there's a lot of people that have lots of credit card debt. And the average, and we'll see what the statistic is, the average credit card interest rate is well over 20%, closer to almost 30%, right? So it's an issue. It's something that it should be talked about. But let me go back over here to my stats. Okay. We saw 1.14 trillion is the total that Americans owe on their credit cards, right? We got, of course, as I mentioned, rising delinquencies. We got our interest rates. I think the average interest rate, I'll see it in a bit. Here it is right here. It's 27.9%. The average credit card interest rate is 27.9, basically 28%. That is huge. And you talk about destroying wealth. You want to get wealthy. You want to make some money. You want to build assets and get rid of liabilities. It's hard to do it paying $30 a month on 28% interest, right? This is crazy debt. And listen, baby boomers tend to have more credit card balances than the average, than the other Gen Zs and Gen Xers, right? But it's crazy. Let me tell you this. At the end of last year, 65% of people age 18 to 29 had a credit card. 80% of people ages 30 to 44 had a credit card. 86% of people age 45 to 49 had a credit card. And 91% of the boomers over 60, boomers a little older than that, but the boomers, 91% of them had a credit card. Let me just run down a few more statistics if I can find them. Here they are right here. Fewer than half of adult card holders carried a balance on their card for at least a month in the past year, according to a May this year Federal Reserve study. 47% of adult card holders carried a balance for at least 1 month of the year, right? U.S. consumers use cash in only 12%. Watch this, only 12% of in-store transactions. That's why when you hand people cash, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, this is different, right? I wonder what the stat is for people that actually write checks, right? I don't think anybody writes too many checks anymore, but only 12% of in-store transactions occur with a credit card. And apparently most consumers, 81%, prefer to use cards. 81% are using cards. Let me go ahead and share these stats with you guys real quick. Hey, thank you so much, Steve, for the super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you. Steve said pay off 20K of credit card debt at at 20% interest or acquire another rental property with 38K of equity. Pay off 20K of credit card debt or acquire another rental property with $38,000 of equity. Get rid of the debt. That will not cash flow until I refi or remove PMI. Get rid of the debt. Get rid of the debt. That's my suggestion. Get rid of the debt before you go invest. And Steve, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. I hope that answer was pretty concise for you. Thank you so much, Millennial Diligence, for the super chat. Appreciate it. People are now comfortable with their indentured servitude via bad car loans, credit cards, and buy now, pay later. You hit the nail on the head, Millennial. You hit the nail on the head. People have gotten used to and comfortable with indentured servitude. I like the way you put that because I'm of the same mind frame. Me and you, we're right here. Car loans and credit card debts, they seem to just have resigned themselves to spending a lifetime drowning in debt. A lot of people feel that way. Great comment. Thanks again, Millennial Diligence. I appreciate it. Let me share my screen with you guys real quick and go over some of these credit card. And this is sort of the elephant in the room because a lot of times, guys, people don't like to talk about this stuff. But I say, let's attack it. Let's talk about it. Let's have the conversation. So if you're following here, I'm going to run through, and this is kind of small for you guys. Let's see. And this is actually written just yesterday. 1.142 trillion dollars in debt. And here are some statistics. Let's see if we got total outstanding debt. Let's see total outstanding credit card balances right there. Let's go through some of the stats, right? Which state's residents have the most credit card debt? We're talking credit card debt. Credit card holders in New Jersey have the highest average credit card debt of any state, according to Lending Tree data, while those in Mississippi have the lowest. And here's a map here. If I click on New Jersey over here, Jersey, average credit card debt for quarter 4 of last year was $8,900. Go down here to Mississippi, which is where my mother and father were both born in Mississippi. It's the average person had $4,956 worth of debt. And you can go throughout here, guys, and you see some of the darker colored ones are the ones that have more. So you look at Alaska, California is up around 8,300. Florida down here has about 7,900. Of course, we said older Americans tend to have more credit card debt. And of course, a lot of older Americans live in Florida and also parts of California. So we can run through that. Here the actual table is of it to show you the average credit card debt in quarter 4 of last year. All right. And so we can also look at some other stats. Let's see if there's other stuff. Okay. What percentage of credit card holders carry a balance? As I said, 47% carried a balance on a credit card. And that's broken down. So I'm not going to read through all of these stats. I actually have some stats of my own that I'm going to share with you guys. So let me break through my stats real quick if I can find them. Okay. We said 12% of in-store transactions were credit cards. Visa held the largest of those transactions at 40%, right? And there's something called Union Pay in China. They held 32%. This is worldwide. MasterCard was at 24%. And American Express and Discover accounted for only 4% of global credit card transactions. Visa last year processed about $14.5 trillion worth of payments and managed about 4.2 billion cards that are out there. MasterCard was responsible for or processed $9 trillion in payments, and they managed only about 2.9 billion cards. Discover processed $589 billion, and Discover managed about 305 million cards. Fourth on the list was American Express. They processed about $221 billion in payments and managed about 141 million cards. Credit card, by the way, the biggest one country where there's less credit card transaction is India. Credit card penetration into India was only about 5% of people used cards for transactions. That's far less than most other big countries, right? So most consumers are carrying credit card are comfortable carrying credit card balances, like Millennial said. Worldwide, we're talking worldwide, not just America. Worldwide, 60% of card holders carry a balance on their cards. Okay. Huge. According to last quarter last year, Americans held 595 million credit card accounts, up from 590 just the previous quarter. Now, let's talk delinquency rates because delinquency is an issue. Delinquency rates are up too. What does that mean? That means late pays, right? Late pays for credit cards. Let me just share my screen with you guys because you know I like to share my screen. Let's try it again here. Let's see if I can do it. I think I can. Let's see. Credit card and auto loan delinquencies. Let's focus on credit cards. This story was just written a couple days ago as well. Delinquencies ticked upwards. Okay. Here's credit card delinquencies in the yellow. That's in the blue is auto loans. We won't pay attention to auto loans, but it's up as well. Credit card delinquencies are up to 9.1%. Consumers continue to look more financially stressed according to new data. More Americans are falling behind on loan payments, household balance sheets that once looked solid. They don't look solid no more. All right. By the numbers, roughly 8% of auto loan balances were newly delinquent. And let me see if here, yes, delinquency rates for credit cards have jumped 1.8 percentage points since the second quarter of last year. So that's in 1 year, delinquencies have gone up almost 2% on credit cards. Right? The share of credit card balances transitioning into serious delinquency status with payments of 90 days late or more was about 7.2% last quarter. This time last year, they were 5.1%. So delinquencies and serious delinquencies over 90 days on credit cards are up. This is why this is bad, guys. I mean, I know it doesn't feel bad because everybody's living their life and no big deal, but we're getting too comfortable being behind, too comfortable swiping a card, maybe too comfortable living off credit card debt. Look, 500 people in my YouTube survey, 60% said I use my credit card for everything daily or almost everything daily, right? What does that say? According to Bankrate 2024 credit card debt report, 36 per here it is right here. 36% of US adults have more credit cards. Listen, let me say this again because this is really important. 36% of US adults in America, 36% have more credit card debt than they have emergency savings, which is now a record high. A year ago at this time, only 22% of adults in the US had more credit card debt than they have savings. Today, it's 36%. More and more reliance on debt. Too much spending, too little saving. Question is that you? We're just going to pull the veil back and look in the mirror and say, you know what? Is that me? Right? Another couple other things. Rich people have credit card debt longer. The more money you have, the longer you carry the debt. And here's an interesting one. Men typically have more debt than women. On average, men have more debt across all the categories, except for the category of student loans. I think student loans, men don't have more than women. But Experian, let me go to the research. Experian compared debt balances among men and women and found that on average, men have 2% more credit card debt than women. Men have 20% more personal loan debt than women. Men have 16.3% more auto loan debt than women, right? But women have a little bit more student loan debt. Point is, that's a lot. Men have 2% more credit card debt than women. All right. Now, don't get me wrong. Women tend to make less than men on average, right? On average, women typically make about 80 to 83% or something like that. 83% maybe of the 83 cents to every dollar that a man's salary is. So we have that disparity there. So it trickles down into credit cards, right? There's a good chance you will probably die with debt, right? 68% of Americans die with credit card balances. More people die with credit card debt than they die with student loan, with mortgages. or with car loans. I think twice more than almost 3 times as many people die with credit card debt than die with car loans. The point is, credit card debts are everywhere. That's just a few odd stats that I thought was interesting to bring up. Good to have you here, Mrs. Moore. Thank you for being here. Somebody said most credit is medical. I'm just reading through the chat. Talk. I'm just trying to talk about it. Just trying to talk about it. Somebody said my credit card is charging 38%. My landscapes. That is huge. My goodness, 38%. But why do we have so much credit card debt? What is the issue here with credit card debt? Right? Is there some type of, I don't know, fear of missing out or trying to keep up with the Joneses, because, friends and coworkers and everybody around you is getting this and getting that. So you want to get this and you want to get that. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's lifestyle creep, right? You get 25 years old, you're making $40,000 a year. Then by the time you get to be 35 years old, you make more, so you spend more. And I get it. I get it. Inflation is all around us. The price of everything is going up. I totally understand that. But there's got to be another phenomenon, right? Credit card debt is exploding, right? Guys, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button for me. And let me tell you a little bit about my credit card story, okay? Here's my credit card story. And I haven't owned or had a credit card for about, now I guess it's almost 13 years, 12, 13 years. 2011, 2012, maybe that's 12 or 13 years or so, maybe a little more. But I haven't had a credit card in all that time. Haven't needed it, haven't even wanted it, haven't used a credit card. Why? Few reasons. First, temptation. Now, I've never had a whole bunch of credit card debt. I got my first credit card in 88 or so, 80, 87, 88, 89, around that time. I got what was a Montgomery Ward's credit card. How many, raise your hand if you heard about Montgomery Ward's, right? If you remember Montgomery Ward's, it was the cousin of J.C. Penney and the cousin, the bigger, older cousin of Kohl's, and the bigger, older cousin of, you name the store, right? But Montgomery Ward's was my very first credit card. What did I do? I had a $500 balance. I was about 18, 19 years old. I went out and I bought Christmas gifts for a bunch of people, charged it up to the limit, $500, right? $500 was a lot of money in 1988, 89, right? That was a lot of money. So I charged it up and I just didn't pay it. Right. I didn't pay it because I was in between jobs here and there. Remember, I come from a situation where I was very, very poor. So I got this credit card. I said, man, I must have good, because I had just bought my car I bought a brand new car at the age of 18. Brand new car. I had 20 something percent interest on that car. Bought it for $15,000, 1988 Ford Escort. Right. Bought my first car in 88, about 89, I think, 88, 89. I've got the Montgomery Ward's card. Woo, I had some credit. I'm balling, right? Stayed on my credit report for probably 10 years or so because I just didn't pay it off. I wasn't very responsible with money. Nobody was teaching me these things when I was 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. I just kept it on there and it made my credit go down. And, hey, I didn't worry about it, but lo and behold, ultimately it fell off, right? I don't think there's a Montgomery Ward on anybody's credit today, 25, 35 years later, right? But then since after that, around 2000 or so, when I started buying rental property, I picked up a couple of more credit cards from my credit union, and I used them sparingly to help me with my properties, my rental properties, up until about 2010, 2011, 2012. Around that time, I said enough is enough. I had built up maybe $3,000 or something on one of them. And I said, this is way too much. Let me pay it off, put it in that snowball, pay it off, and so forth. And I haven't had a credit card since then. Cut it up, haven't used it, right? But that was my first experience. But nowadays, I don't want a credit card because, one, I don't want the temptation to use a credit card. Two, I don't like paying for the use of money. I don't like paying interest unless I'm making a payment on something that's going up in value, or if I'm getting some type of monthly payment. So I have debt on rental property, small amounts of debt on some rental property, but I don't want to have a credit card where I'm paying interest every time I swipe the card. A credit card is just a short-term loan, right? And then it takes discipline not to misuse credit cards. Again, I don't like debt and I don't believe in carrying debt on anything going down in value. If I got a credit card to build credit, I'd simply, if I was talking to a 19-year-old that wants to kind of build some credit, I would say, hey, you use this thing only for gas and pay it off immediately. Immediately. If you want to build some credit, because some people like to have a credit card. I'm not mad at anybody for having a credit card. I'm not going to get on here and preach to you, you should never do this and never do that. Some people have a credit card and they know how to use it responsibly. That's cool. I just don't do it. I don't prefer to do it because I hate debt on things that go down in value. So I don't want to take on debt to pay my utility bill. I don't want to take on a loan to get gas at the gas I just don't want to do it, right? It just goes against, what I like to do. But I had one and I had several, but I got rid of them. That's my story on credit cards and I'm sticking to it, right? Some of you may say, well, how do you survive without a credit card? Look, I use my debit card and I make sure I always have money to cover it, never need it. Speaking of debit cards, what's the difference between a debit card and a credit card, right? Debit cards are obviously linked to a bank. Debit cards have a spending limit, obviously, because it's part of your checking account. Debit cards have interest and fees, right? And there's no impact on your credit rating when you use a debit card, right? There's no impact at all. Now, the big thing that people like to talk about all the time is the fraud, right? Fraud protection on a debit card is not as solid as the fraud protection on a credit card, right? Debit cards do have fraud protection, but the process to get your money back if your account is ever compromised, it can be a lot slower, and it's also putting at risk the money that you may need right now, right? Which could be very, very inconvenient. So the fraud protection for debit cards is not there like for credit cards, right? We get it, right? With credit cards, it's a line of credit. A credit card provides you with a line of credit up to a specific amount. 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 100,000, whatever the limit is, right? When you make a purchase using a credit card, you're borrowing money from the issuer of the card. You're borrowing money. You are a borrower, right? You are and borrower is always servant to the lender and all, if we're thinking about that. But the point is that you're a borrower. You are borrowing money at a certain interest rate that's averaging almost 28% right now. Somebody in the chat said it's 30 something percent. That's amazing, right? But when you have a credit card, there's also a limitation on what you can spend, which is determined by the person, the entity that issued you the card. And it's determined, by your credit worthiness, your credit score, right? How they score you, right? It also has its interest and its fees and all that good stuff. And it can be used for purchases just like a debit card. But there also is an impact on your credit. So it can positively or negatively affect your credit score. And if you mismanage the credit card, it can impact and bring your credit score down. Now, fraud protection is there for you easier and quicker when you're talking about credit cards, right? Typically, you're not going to, anybody ever had their card stolen? You're not going to be, your credit card stolen. You're not going to be liable for the charges, right? Immediately, like you would with a debit card where they have access to your money that's there, right? Let's see what we got here in the chat. I'm going to go back to the chat because I haven't been here in a while. Let's see. It's an instant gratification society, Angie said. I agree. Somebody said it's the cost of living. Having a credit card is the cost of living. I don't have a credit card. I live great. Right. Somebody said smash the like button. Yes, please, guys, do me a favor and hit that like button as we have this conversation about this topic that everybody has an opinion on, right? So I wanted to approach it theory. Maybe for younger people, since they feel so hopeless about their financial future, they just spend money without thinking about it. Perhaps. And I'm going back a little ways into the chat. Let's see. I haven't used one in for over 8 years, and that was to buy a new dryer at Sears. Right on. I like that. Let's see. I love the credit card game. Ruben said, of course, we're going to get to the big elephant in the room, which is the points that everybody likes, right? Somebody said Montgomery Ward. What a throwback. It is a throwback. I've been around a little while, guys. I know I look, 45, but I'm actually a little older than that. Let's see. I didn't get a credit card till I was like 35. Glad I waited. Congratulations, Jimbo. Yeah, sometimes it takes a while to kind of mature before you can handle having a credit card. Let's see here. Let's see. Let the balance get reported 10%. Pay the full balance at closing dates. Let's see. If it wasn't for my credit card, I'd have no credit score, and it's more of a nuisance to travel without. I use my credit card for everything, and I pay it off every 2 weeks. Jen, you know what, Jen? Jen, a lot of people tell me that they use their credit card for everything. But the fact is that America is 1 point something something trillion and an all-time high, record high level in credit card debt total. So a lot of people say they pay it off. Now, I'm not saying you do this, but a lot of people say they pay it off, but they really don't pay it off the way they say they pay it off, right? So, for a lot of people, it's difficult to have the discipline to actually properly manage a credit card, right? Properly manage a credit card. Somebody said, I have had fraud several times and the bank resolved it within 24 hours on your credit card. That's why people like the credit card over the debit card, right? That's sort of the argument, right? Jimbo says he or she has great credit, and credit card usage responsibly can be a game changer. Look, I am not one and it's okay if good credit is good if you're gonna, but it's only good not just to say I have an 800 credit score. It's only good if you plan to buy appreciating assets with it. If you don't plan to buy appreciating assets with debt, I mean with your credit, with a good credit score, who cares if you got a 900 credit score? I don't think it goes to 900, maybe 850, right? It's great to have, but I'm not buying rental properties right now. I'm not buying anything where I have to leverage anything to utilize my credit score in the last, you name it, years, right? I've got my rental property and I pay them off responsibly every single month, no problem. Boom, that's building my credit. So if you want to, I'm not against credit cards. I'm just saying make sure that if you get a credit card, you utilize your credit card, hopefully on things going up in value, not just these random things that most people use their credit cards for. Somebody said my wife's score was 670. Now it's at 820 in 2 years. I'm pushing 790. Congratulations to you on a good score. Right? Guys, get the likes up. Got to get the likes up. Got to do me a favor. Stop what you're doing because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you used to, right? Just kidding. But listen, go ahead and get the likes up for me, please, if you can. Stop what you're doing and hit the thumbs up button. Thank you, Mrs. Moore. Nigel said in Canada, we need credit cards for rental cars, hotels, pay by month in, and so forth. Okay. Hey, you use it responsibly, not a problem. The problem is that most people can't use it responsibly, right? I'm a debit card person. Spend my own money, no interest, link to my bank account, right? If you're a credit card person, borrow money up to a credit limit, potential to get charged the interest, and it can help or hurt your credit score. So be it. Right? I like money in the bank. I like using what I have. I like the discipline of not spending money until I have money. I like that discipline, right? Just me. While we're talking about, here's some reasons, in my opinion, and I wrote them out I just wrote them down. I horribly wrote them down. But here's some problems with credit cards, right? Here's some problems. Obviously, interest rates. You got to know that as the Fed funds rate goes up, that affects your credit card rates because again, credit cards are a line of credit and it's considered short term, right? Short term. So short term rates go up when the Fed fund raises rates. Remember back about 3 or 4 years ago when interest rates were down, when Fed funds rate was down around 0 to 1%, really, really low, your credit card rates were lower. They weren't low, low, but they were lower, right? But now that the Fed has raised rates, those interest rates have gone up. Now, when the Fed starts cutting rates, you're going to see the interest rates on your credit card go down as well. But if you don't pay off the balance in full every month, you incur those expensive interest rates. That's I don't want to deal with 28% interest rates. That's amazing. They're charging you, you have to pay to use the money in your line of credit. The concept of that, I don't like it. It's easy. Another thing is it's easy to accumulate a lot of debt when you have credit cards. It's too convenient to swipe a card, right? And I would show you or cite the studies that say when you swipe a card, you spend more money because it doesn't affect you as much as when you count your dollars out and you have your dollars in your wallet and it's $10 and you got $12. Now you got to peel off $10 to pay for it. Now you only have two left. Look, that feeling is way worse than just swiping a card that you can't feel and you ain't got to pay right now because it's on your line of credit. You'll pay it later. You spend more money when you swipe a card. So it's easier to accumulate debt, right? And a lot of people pay the minimum payments on this credit card debt because the company allows you to, because the company wants you to pay the interest, right? Which can keep you in debt longer and longer. This channel is about responsibly managing your money. One of the ways to responsibly manage your money is to not have debt on anything going down in value. You want to have debt, if you have debt, on some things that are appreciating, right? Land, commercial buildings, apartments, real estate, whatever it could be, you name it. You want to have, if you have debt, if you have any debt at all, you want to have debt on things that's going up, right? So that this year it's worth $100,000. In 10 years, that thing is worth $200,000. Yeah, you paid interest on it and made payments on it, but it went up in value to hopefully offset the amount of money and interest that you paid on it, right? That's the kicker. But if you mismanage your credit card, boom, goes to your credit report, makes it harder for you to go out and get that loan on that piece of real estate down the road that's going up in value. Not to mention, and I'll talk about this a little more, the hidden fees that are in credit cards, all the annual fees and all this fees that you can't even see. If you think you get your telephone, your cell phone bill, and there's a bunch of fees in there, you don't know what it is, right? Or this fee, or that fee, origination fee, a charge fee, a left foot fee, and a tree fee, and a underground line fee. When you understand and know the backside of a credit card and all the fees you pay, it's very similar. And there's just this temptation to spend and spend and spend. I'm giving you some of the bad things. I'm going to give you some of the ways to actually look at credit cards and use them wisely too, because I want to give you the cons and the pros. The pros, the good and the bad, right? And of course, we know about losing your card. And I mean, how many have been at a gas station and you put your card on top of the car and you drive off and you go back later that night to look for it? We all been through that, right? But the terms and conditions, everything gets a little. I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan. Let's talk about how these credit card companies, because everybody talks about the points, the points, the points, the points. I love my points. I love my points. I want to get points. I want to fly free. I want to go to the hotels and utilize my credit card points, right? Let me see what we got in the chat real quick. There we are. Jay Samuels. My cash back rewards are like monthly dividends for me. I'm not mad at you, Jay. I'm not mad at you, Jay. Appreciate that comment. Right? Credit card companies, there's really like three big ways they make their money. Through interest, right? They charge interest on outstanding balances, which when you owe what is the figure? The new figure, right? 1.14 trillion dollars. Can you imagine what the interest is? Imagine how credit card companies are living fat off the hog on outstanding balances. $1.14 trillion owed, a record all-time high as credit card debt is exploding in America. It's a record all-time. Can you imagine the interest payments that those outstanding balances and those companies like your MasterCard, your Visa, your Discover, your all, imagine what they are collecting in the interest. They're charging interest. Then there's the annual fees. Now, some credit cards don't have an annual fee, some do, right? There's late payment fees. There's over the limit fees, which some people, when they exceed their limit, they may be charged a fee for going over. There's the transfer, or what they call the balance transfer fee, right? When you transfer a balance from between credit cards, right? There's the cash advance fee, right? There's the fee when you withdraw cash using your credit card. There's a fee for that, right? And then there's the big one, and this is the really big one. It's the merchant fees that you don't always see. All right. Transactions. When you make a purchase and you go to the store and you buy a candy bar, right, with your credit card, the merchant, wherever you bought the candy bar from, pays a fee to the credit card company. And this fee is usually like a percentage or so of the transaction amount. And it's a split between the card issuing bank, wherever you got the credit card from that issued the actual card, right? And the Visa MasterCard. So it gets complicated. I'm not even going to go into explaining all that, right? It's not necessary. The point is that there's merchant fees as well that's behind the scenes that you don't see. And when you went to go swipe the card to get the candy bar, you didn't see all that happening in the background. But at the same time, there was 10 million people across the world swiping the card, and Visa, MasterCard got paid, right? Points. Credit card companies offer rewards and things to incentivize you to spend money. Things that are incentivized and structured in ways like what? Travel points. You get your airline miles, you got cash back, and you get all types of hotels and things like that, which Jay mentioned earlier, right? Merchant fees is a big way that's affordable. Part of the interchange between the merchants and the rewards and paid by the merchants towards the rewards programs, these are percentages of the transaction. The more you spend, the more fees they collect. And some of that revenue is redirected to pay the hotel, where you can use your reward points, to pay the airline, where you can use your reward points, right? Sometimes the annual fees help offset the cost of some of those reward programs also. Sometimes there's people that never use their reward points. Can you imagine all the people that they just use their card? They never worry about the points. They don't use the points, right? And they call that, I think they call that, let me look it up. I think they call it, what was it, breakage or something like that. There it is, breakage. They call it breakage, right? The unused portion of rewards points, right? And that goes back as a credit. Listen, there's all type of ways you use your rewards points. Fantastic, great, good for you. But guess what? You're not the only one winning in that transaction, right? The credit card companies are winning in the transaction. They also know that oftentimes when they give you rewards and points, you're going to spend more using the card just to get the rewards points. And what I say earlier, the more you spend, the more money goes in their pocket. They're winning on the front end and winning on the back end while you're using the points to go fly. It looks like a win-win-win, but trust me, they're win-win-winning, and you're spending more. I'm not mad at you, though. I'm not mad at you for using your credit card points and getting your credit card points, right? Nothing wrong with that at all. Let's see what we got here in the chat, guys. I just been flowing on and flowing on. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button for me, guys. Very important. Check out my partner on this, Mint Mobile. Check them out in the description box below. By the way, in the description box also, Not only are you going to find a link to Mint Mobile, you'll find a link to some of the other people that I use, things I use. That'll be in the description box below, along with some free stuff. Join me over at Smart Money Bro on Instagram if you can. Just go over there and join me. Follow me on Instagram. I do a lot of stuff, not a lot, but I'm starting to do more and more stuff over on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook, wherever you're at, guys. All that stuff is good. So check out the description box. And also don't forget to smash that like button for me and share the link if you like, right? So, uh, so these are things we got to be thinking about, right? I am just not a credit card person. So I do have a few videos about credit cards here on the channel, but I just don't use them. Somebody said Humpty. Yeah, the Humpty dance. Yeah, that I'm way behind on the chat, right? But yeah, guys, the Humpty dance was back in the day, late 80s, early 90s, I think that was. Let's see. Robinhood has a credit card that gives 3% cash back on everything. Don't think that can last too long. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know how long that'll last. I didn't know Robinhood had a card like that. Let's see here. Somebody said, when you have money and credit card, life is good. Do it wisely. No doubt, Nigel. Absolutely. Let's see here. That's the mental shift I'm adopting, cultivating now. Let's see here. Swipe fee. Yeah, they got a blow your nose fee, right? They got a fee for everything, right? Let's see here. Pay your debt off at the end of the billing cycle is the only way to win with using a credit card. Paying it off at the end of the billing cycle so that you don't accrue the interest. Absolutely. Good point. Thanks for saying that. Let's see here. And I might be skipping some, guys, so don't beat me up for that. Let's see. Robinhood Gold Card costs $5 a month. And some of you like those old, 0% interest down deals and all that. Yeah, it's just not something I've ever done. And believe it or not, guys, listen, from 2011, when I stopped using credit cards to today, to right now today, I became a millionaire. Okay. And I don't talk about that very often on here because I'm not here to brag about all that. I'm just saying that I was able to increase my net worth to $1 million and I didn't, or to seven figures, right? And I didn't use a credit card along the way. So some of you say, well, how do you get rich if you don't have credit or you don't leverage? I don't know. I just did it and I didn't have to use a credit card to get it. So I don't believe that you have to have a credit card. Does it help if you want to buy, say, does it help to have some type of credit when you want to buy an asset that's appreciating, like, say, a home or a rental house or something like that? It helps, right? But if that's what your goal is, you can use it a little bit just to, get some gas, pay it off, get some gas, pay it off, so you have a little history. And then as soon as you get what you want in terms of that, I'd cut it up and throw it away. So what that you build credit up to go get it to go get a lease or to go get get car payments, right? That's no fun, right? You build up credit to what are you building up credit for? If it's not to buy an asset that's growing and appreciating in value, what's the point? So in my view, one of the only reasons, there may be another one or two, but one of the only reasons to get a credit card really is maybe if you want to build some credit up and you want to be a first-time home buyer. Maybe that's it, right? But if you are 50 years old and you bought your assets and you don't plan on going into debt unless it's on another large asset like a house, I, there's no need for a credit card. So when I got rid of my credit card, I was 41, 42 years old, had already bought the properties that I wanted. Now, I may buy another property at some point and I'll check my credit card, I'll check my credit. I checked my credit I checked it about 2 years ago. But before that, it had been like 8, 9 years before I even looked at my credit. I didn't need it because this is what I believed and I learned and I did is that everything I needed to build my wealth did not necessarily involve getting any more credit, getting any more debt. I already had debt with properties, rental properties, a primary home. So I wasn't using debt. So I didn't really need a credit card because I wanted to discipline myself to say, if I don't have the money, I don't buy it. If I don't have the money and can't save up for it, I don't get it. I don't care if it's a washer and dryer around the house, if it's a stove, if it's a refrigerator, no matter what it is, right? So let's talk about real quick some of the best ways to use credit cards if you plan to use them. Because again, I'm not totally against them. I didn't use them, but I'm not totally against them if you have a purpose for them. Obviously, pay your balance in full, right? Always, always. So you can avoid, I say it in full. There's some people that would say, hey, leave $5 to $10 on there so that it doesn't look like when somebody runs your credit report, it looks a little different, right? Whatever method you decide, if you want to pay it down to $10 every single time, great. If you want to pay it off, great, right? The other thing is you want to set a budget. Why not treat your credit card like you treat cash? Only charge what you can afford to pay off at the end of the month. How about that? Novel idea. That way you discipline yourself not to go over and above the money that you've already set aside on your budget to pay your credit card in full. So if you are doing a budget and you know that once a month you spend about $100 on gas for your car, then you make sure you plug in $100 for gas on the car and you go ahead and use your card to do it. And then at the end of the month or every 2 weeks, you go ahead and pay the card at the end of the month. You pay the card according to what you budgeted in your budget. Therefore, you're kind of still working on a budget and you're strategically making sure you don't pay a bunch of extra interest. You're making sure that you're paying it off in full. You see what I'm saying, right? Tracking your spending and so forth, right? Read the fine print. Use the rewards wisely. Don't get crazy with rewards because if you get crazy trying to get rewards, you're going to go crazy swiping the card in times you really don't have to be swiping the card, right? Just keep, in my opinion, you keep your utilization of the card low so you can avoid some of the temptation of overspending, of carrying a balance, right? And obviously, you pay on time. Make sure you pay on time. Try to avoid any of the unnecessary late pay fees, right? All that type of stuff. And then here's another big one. If you use cards, credit cards, try to limit the amount of cards you have. You don't want to open up your wallet and have 10 cards fall out because that's 10 different things you got to be keeping up with. I'm just trying to give you an idea how to maybe do this thing in a way that is strategic so you don't get caught up in the $1.14 trillion of debt that Americans owe and get caught up in this credit card debt exploding like we see, right? Sometimes somebody said in the chat, Americans are reckless spenders. We have been taught to be consumers, 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 and consume and consume. And a lot of us, we don't create, we don't build, we don't plant, we don't do anything. We just consume and consume, and we just take and we just take. You're right. I agree with you. Right. And I can only speak for Americans, but I'm sure there's other folks around the world doing the same thing. Right. Let's see here. Somebody said, let's see here. Somebody said, what do I think about margining? I don't think it's a bad idea. I got to look more into it, though. Let's see here. Nigel said, no, not Nigel. Let's see. It's right here. Ruben. Boom, 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 boom. I'm just reading through these things. I'm behind and lost, and I'm flipping all over the place, right? Guys, don't forget to hit the like button for me. Really appreciate it. The other thing you want to do if you're using credit cards, make sure you review your credit report, right? Check it. Now, and you get a free, 20 years ago, you couldn't get a free credit report, but you can get a free credit report right now. See, just make sure everything's cool and collected on your credit report, right? Just some things to do. Because again, I'm not totally against cards, but I didn't use them on the way to me building wealth. Didn't have to, didn't want to, purposely left them alone for my own sanity because I was in a asset building mode, right? Where I wanted to reduce and eliminate debt. To this day, no debt. Only debt I have is on real estate, appreciating real estate, and real estate that is paying me a monthly rent. Right? I'm getting a monthly rent plus it's appreciating. I got a little bit of debt on those things, right? But that's it. Simple. Credit card debt is exploding, right? As credit is getting out of hand in our country. Credit card debt is reaching record highs. It's reached a record high. All right. Credit cards are one of those areas where a lot of people disagree with with me, and that's okay. I didn't use credit cards on my way to building wealth, and some people say that's you should not teach people or tell people not to use credit cards, which I really don't. I tell people that if you can use it responsibly, I'm okay with it. But listen, I'm never going to use a credit card because I don't believe in having a loan. I don't want a line of credit that I use on a regular basis, right? Now, I'm at the point where I don't need it. Need it as in need it to build up any credit or to build my credit score or things like that, right? I don't care anything about my credit. I have an idea what it is because I just checked it a couple years ago, but it's neither here nor there. My credit score doesn't matter. I didn't check it for 10 years, close to 10 years. Just don't I don't use it. I'm going to do my best to have the money, cash. You can call me. Look at the phone back here. You guys know I'm outdated. I got a phone right here. I have a 1974 Zenith. I wish I could turn the camera around. I have a 1974 Zenith 8 track with a turntable, an 8 track, and it's got a cassette inside the thing that the little the tinted thing that you lift up. The cassette is right there. I even have a few. I got rid of all my cassettes. I got an old double. No, I got an old CD player that's also a double cassette player over here with speakers. This speaker. Oh man, I went real dark. This speaker works, and I have a lot of old stuff. So when you call me old school, I take that as a compliment because old school was pretty good, right? I had some fond memories of old school. So, and when I my outlook on credit cards is sort of old school. It's to say that I don't do a lot of videos about credit cards because I just don't use them and I have no need for them. But I'm not against them, right? Yes, guys, you gotta do me that favor and smash that. Guys, do me a favor. Let me know in the chat real quick. Let me know how many of you do use credit cards. If you use credit card, how many? No, I'm sorry. How many of you don't use credit cards? Is there anybody here that says no? I don't have credit cards. I don't use credit cards. I don't want credit cards. Is there anybody else like me? Yes, Relentless, the 8 track turntable, the whole nine, cassette, all that over there. How many of you say I do not use credit cards? Is there anybody here that says nope, I refuse to use them, don't need them, et cetera, et cetera? Mark Moore, that's a thumbs up. Okay, cool. Enigma, the gray man. How old are you, Mark Moore? How old are you, Enigma? Are you guys older? Let me know that because if maybe you guys are like me, I'm an old school person. I like old school. I like old school music. I like old school things. I'm okay with old school. I like vintage. I like history. I like all that stuff. There we are, right there. I think we're back. Yep, we're floating in and out because of that. Oh, 48. Okay, fantastic. So not too old. Yep. Okay, older. Great. Okay. Yeah, call me old, right? Mark Moore's a college student. Right on, Mark. Good for you. All right. Good way of thinking. How do I not put all my eggs in one basket if Nvidia is a good amount each share and I have so much faith in it? Just Eddie, just spread it around. Be patient. Stop investing with your emotions, Eddie. Take your emotions out of it. Use your intellect and your rationale and your reasoning to invest. Stop looking at Nvidia as the thing that's going to make you rich one day and start looking at it as another stock with flaws and pros and cons and start evaluating it as such and don't put all your money in there. Thank you, Mrs. Moore, for letting me know. I think we're back on, guys. I think we're back. I appreciate it. Let's see, 55. Okay, so we got some older folks in here. Somebody says I don't use credit cards. Aretha, fantastic. Okay, okay. Got somebody else like me. Let's see here. I no longer use credit cards. Leonardo Santos said, great. Sometimes emergency comes up. Look, if you If you're in this chat and you use your credit card as an emergency fund, you need to go ahead and build up your real emergency fund. And that way you don't use your credit card as emergency, but you use money as an emergency, as opposed to using a line of credit called a credit card. Just build that thing back up. I've heard some people tell me, and I've gotten some emails from people after I had this conversation before on some other videos. They email me and say, well, I use my credit card as an emergency fund. And I'm saying, don't use it as an emergency. Have money, right? It's the you even feel different when you have money as opposed to a credit card as your emergency fund. So just think about that, guys. So I just want to have a quick conversation with you and tell you, look, this came out in the news a day or two ago, the fact that the credit card debt was at an all-time high in America, and it's only going up from here. More and more people are relying on using credit cards to pay their everyday bills, to live their life with. And I'm telling you now, guys, be very, very, very careful about that, because it's too easy to overspend, and it's too easy to lose that discipline of actually managing the credit card appropriately, right? So that it doesn't come back and hurt you. The last thing you want to have, I talk to a lot of people about their money, and what I hear all the time is this: I got a credit card. I got about $500. I got a $500 balance on that. I got about a $3,000 balance on that. I got about a $5,000. I don't have very much money, because people don't even almost today look at credit card debt as debt. A lot of people just, I got I owe about $1,500 on that. But look, it's still debt, and you're still probably paying lots and lots of interest on it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Pay it down. I'm not saying get rid of the card. You can cut the card up too. That's cool too. But if you don't want to cut the card up because you're trying to get a house and you want to build your credit, get rid of the debt and make sure you're managing the card appropriately, right? Which means paying it off immediately, so you don't accrue and have to pay for any of the interest. You don't accrue a balance and you don't pay interest, right? Be strategic and smart with that thing. If you're a person that knows you overspend and you know you swipe the card when you shouldn't, get rid of the card. Try it. It really, really works, believe it or not. Somebody said, Mark said, I work and I'm paying my own way through college and I pay all my bills. Go on, Mark. Very good, Mark. Fantastic, fantastic. Good for you. Good for you. That's awesome. I like that. I really like that. So, hey guys, I appreciate you being here. You got to do me a favor, smash the like button and look in the description box here on YouTube for all the free stuff, other videos, and all that good stuff that are down there. Check me out at smartmoneybro.com. Go over there and take a look at the webpage and see if there's anything there that can help you. Probably is, more than likely. Again, check me out on Instagram. Go follow me over there, guys. And we have our other mentorship type of website over on Patreon. On Patreon, we realize that everybody's situation is different. Personal finance is personal. So over on Patreon, I do one-on-ones. I also do things that are specific to Patreon only, obvious for that audience only, that you don't see over here on YouTube. So feel free to join us over there if you like. Become a supporter over there if you like. And that forum is open to you. So, and also you can always shoot me an email. You got a question, drop a comment. When this video goes on YouTube, drop a comment down there. I'll respond to it. If you have a question, if I missed your question, feel free to drop it in the comment section of this particular one. I appreciate you, Angie. I appreciate you, Javier. I appreciate you, Ms. Reynolds. Mark Moore, thanks for showing up, and good luck to you, Mark. Boyce Thompson, Ruben, Mrs. Moore, thank you. As always, I appreciate your diligence in the chat. Relentless in the house. Thank you, Relentless. Nanika, Sandy, Clayton, you guys have a blessed night. I'm going to see you again probably on Saturday at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. We'll do another one of these, another interesting topic I want to throw at you guys. Hey, listen, as I always say, the best, and I mean the absolute best person who is going to nurture, hug, pay for, and take good care of the old you is the young you. You guys take good care of yourself and take care of other people. Until the next video, peace.